Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation for our Sunday conversation. My name is John Henry, co-founder of Both Sides of the Conversation. Today we are talking about voting, talking about the different propositions, who you guys are going behind, who you backing, who, who you supporting, um, what voter propositions you get behind, and we would like to have an interaction with our community. We would like you to come join and give us your feedback and your thoughts on why you voting the way you're voting or the proposition that you're backing. Today, if you have time, please share a watch party. Please share this information. It should be a good conversation. We're going to have our chats open today. You could chat in the Zoom or you could leave comments in our Facebook group. Um, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our co-host that's going to be hosting for us today. I'm with
Counselor Crockett. So thank you for having me, John, and both sides of the conversation. I look forward to co-hosting with you today. We'll miss Jada and Rico, but they're always with us. So that's what's up.
And we also have with us
Aisha Pullen. Pleasure to be on today to talk about some important issues. Let's get into the conversation, John.
All right, just before we start, I'm gonna go ahead and read our rules for today. For our new members, our new group members, to engage in today's conversation. Just want you guys to know that both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation. Please be respectful of that. Please be respectful of the panelists, the hosts, and participants. A healthy debate conversation, we encourage this. Don't personalize anything with anyone. No name calling, no bullying, no trolling or shaming will be allowed. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You don't have to agree, but you must show respect. We are creating an open form of dialogue for healing and education. Before we get started, definitely, as they mentioned, we want everybody to continue praying for our co-founder, Rico Hamilton, and for Jada Curry, our director of programs. Keep them in your prayers, and hopefully they'll be back soon. Once again, create a watch party, share it on Facebook. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and open up this week's conversation about the different propositions and what people are thinking. So I'm gonna open it up to the panelists. And if you would like to join the panelists to talk about the proposition that you're backing or supporting, please raise your hand. We'll pull you up on the live. You could talk about the proposition that you support. If there's any candidates out there running or anybody running for office that would like to come on and promote what they're running for, you are welcome. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to Consular and Asia.
Thanks, John. Well, first off, I'd like to say that while I'm a staunch proponent of people registering to vote and voting early, as we all know it's important to do with this electoral season that we have going on right now in our country, I know that on the larger scope, we have the presidential election going on right now. And that's a could have potentially have a huge impact on us as U.S. citizens and all of that. But I'd like to shift our focus a little bit more towards home. Right now, we have a lot of seats open in the Bay Area that could affect local Black and Brown minority communities, minority businesses, as the seats stand up available. And so for the past month, I've been supporting an effort called We Ride, We Vote, which is the brainchild of Tayemba Jelani and Ron Muhammad, who are relatives of mine, and they wanted to do something that was a little bit more impactful, a little bit more engaging. And so we started that initiative with voter registration by creating a family ride throughout Oakland. That ride has now gained attention and has been convened in cities of solidarity as far as Long Beach, Chicago, Dallas, and this coming one here locally is in San Francisco for November 1st. We're meeting at Martin Luther King Jr. Pool right there at 10 o'clock. The ride is going to start at 11, and we should be done at about 2. The other important thing about that is that we support local Black-owned businesses and businesses, minority businesses in the community. And so along the bike paths, we are pointing out those businesses to you. But I say all of that to say that it's very imperative that we become aware of what's going on locally so that we can start at home first. I know that here in the East Bay, I'm from Oakland, and here in the East Bay, we have 4 council seats that are available in 4 districts. So we're voting our odd districts this year. So districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 are up. For those of you who don't know, Oakland only has 7 districts, which means that over 50% of our seats are up for this election. And so that's really, really important as we talk about I don't like the term that they are coining as far as defunding the police, but as we look at reallocating funds to support mental health, to support all of those things that we find so important, in reimagining public safety, moving away from that community policing idea into really finding something that would serve us as a community better. I think that us taking part in these local election processes are extremely important and very pivotal in us being able to decide what things are on our ballot, how we determine how police are going to be funded, how we determine how mental health support is going to be funded, how we determine how small and minority businesses are going to be impacted, how we determine how these gig workers in this gig economy that California really budded and started is going to move forward and have an impact on our global economy. We really need to be focusing on what happens at home. And so if I can for a moment, because I myself am not an expert, I am just an advocate, a citizen who is probably overly involved in a lot of things. But with that being said, I like to share my screen. So John, can I share my screen now? And this information has been posted on both sides of the conversation as well. So you guys can find that information there. But what I have posted are several links. And I'm going to my Facebook because I know that they're there. So outside of them being here today, what you see are these links that are here. And so here is the first link that you can go to. It's a voter information center. And it just has a lot of information for the recent election post, if you still need to register, how to plan your vote, voting early in person, what's on the ballot. There's a lot of information here, as you can see, right at your fingertips for you to have access to. That's only one of the links that I have. Amongst the other links that are posted on our page is also the online voter registration. So if you click this link, if you still need to vote and do all of that sort of thing, it's there for you, and it tells you how to do that locally. If you can see, for me, it's popping up my location in Oakland, California. So that's going to give us access to information in Oakland and where to go right there to return our ballot right there downtown at the courthouse on Fallon Street. Some of this information is like pertaining to exactly what's on your ballot. And this is information that's available by our California Secretary of State, Alex Padilla. And so you can figure out what exactly is on your ballot. You can also track your ballot. I highly suggest and advise everybody to take the opportunity to track your ballot this electoral season for local and national elections, because we need to know where our information and where our ballots are going. This other link that we have here is vote.org. That's vote.org. And here on vote.org, you can locate polling places, find early voting locations, locate your registered drop box. Be mindful that some of these drop boxes that are out there in community are faux. They are not friendly, and you may have heard about that on your local news. You can also get ballot information here. Again, check your registration, register to vote, vote by mail, get reminders, pledge to register, become a polling worker, and other things like that that are available at that site. So that's vote.org. There's voter information that's ready. There's online voter registration. There's the acvote.org, which is for Alameda County residents. You can go there and get a lot of other voter information. And again, tracking your ballot is there, the virtual registration classes. And so they have some other county information on this site as well. Some of these sites are more helpful than others, so please take a look at them and decide what's going to work for you. And just get informed and get active. You know what I mean? I think that's my point. Washington Post has posted some stuff. And so if you go to both sides of the conversation, the group page or the actual page, you can see that there is a lot of information that's there available and accessible to you at your fingertips. And so I just encourage people to get informed, to get engaged, and to be as informed a voter as possible. So there are opportunities all across the board. If you are registered to vote and have voted early, there's still some things that we can do related to the electoral process. You can also support other people in voting and sharing information. There's a faith-based initiative ballot that's out there where that information is also being posted on our pages to see if you're a person of faith, and if you want to see what the community of faith in action is doing, you can also do that there. But outside of supporting, being a voter registrar or supporting your local ballot boxes, or there's still so many things that we can do around this electoral process. I just want to be of encouragement to people to do that, to get involved, to vote early, to make sure that you're informed and to stay active in this process, because things that are on the ballots and on the propositions right now are going to affect us for the time to come. And so the time is really now for us to use our voices to speak to all of those things. Thank you, John.
Good information. Just so everybody know, here both sides of the conversation, we are not endorsing, promoting, or backing any candidate. We are a neutral organization here, but we definitely want to hear people's perspective and support people, as many people as that we can. But here we take no stance on either party. So let's start talking about some of the propositions. I know we have some amazing people that's running for office. For all our Southern California people, we are encouraging everyone to check out Selena Thomas for councilwoman. We have some people in Sacramento that's running. Also, we have a brother running for mayor in Vallejo. So I'm hoping some of our Vallejo people can come on and talk about, if they're supporting the brother and why. And we hope we get some more people to come on and talk about the propositions that they're supporting and why, just so that we could get a better feedback and feel why people are going in that direction. Asia, did you want to talk about any proposition, or you just want me to go through some of the ones that I have up here?
Why don't you go through some of the ones you have?
All right. So one of the ones that I was looking through, that's big. It seems to be on all of the commercials. People are talking about Proposition 15. It is an initiative that's supposed to bring $12 billion to local community and frontline workers by closing a huge corporate property tax loophole. So I know a lot of people are voting yes on it. I know some people are voting no on it. I just would like to get some feedback from people on why yes and why on no. So many people saying no on it. I know in the past, being a homeowner, there's a lot of measures that come up that continue to increase our housing taxes, and we still have schools failing. We still have our communities failing. So I know a lot of the homeowners are frustrated with the continued of putting money into our school districts or into these propositions because of the failure of the schools and some of the bond measures that goes out for like the roadways and things of that nature. But it sounds like this is a corporate thing. They're trying to get some more of these corporations to get out of those loopholes that they have doing business in city and county in California. So what do you guys think about Prop 15?
So looking at Prop 15, that is, again, focused on commercial properties. Again, I'm getting this information just from my guide here, but that is commercial properties worth more than 3 million would go up in order to provide funding for local governments and schools. So that's where the focus is in terms of where what properties they are going to be taxing.
Okay. So that was good information. I thought it was tied to the homeowners as well. So that's
No,
good.
yeah, it's for commercial properties.
And definitely for all out there, you could talk about what county or state you live in, or what what state or city you work in, or whatever local measures you want to talk about. We're talking about the Bay Area here, but definitely we want people to chime in if you live in another state, people that's running, or you guys have bills on a national level that you guys think people should vote, or Congress people, Senate people. Please chime in, and we could talk about that as well. Kaz, did you want to say anything about Prop 15, or you want to move on to the next proposition?
From what I can tell, I think the propaganda for all of the people who are supporting Democrats, Biden, Harris, Newsom, are all supporting Prop 15 because what their platform is that it's going to help California. And I think, as Asia spoke to, it's primarily targeted towards commercial real estate over $3 million. But if you are a property owner in California, you know that you can have a basic family home that is worth $3 million. And so I think that that's where the rub is, especially because here in California, a lot of people know to buy a multiplex unit. So it's a multi-dwelling unit, and it could be potentially composed of commercial property and residential property so that people can afford to live in California. So I think therein lies the rub. And so if you are a homeowner or a business owner, as it pertains to property, you should look at Proposition 15 more closely and determine what is going to work for you.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, California is definitely very expensive, and a lot of our single family dwellings can go up to $3 million, and some of the multi-family. So that's a good perspective. We do have a lot of business owners, so I know that concerned a lot of business owners. Um, Definitely good information. I see we have a bunch of people on the Zoom. If you guys have a question, or if you guys want to talk about a proposition that you back in, or a candidate, please raise your hand and we'll pull you up, or leave us a comment in the chat. We'll pull you up if you want to talk about the ones that you are supporting, or the people. Let's jump into Proposition 16. This is a big one. This proposition is about an opportunity for all. Prop 16 will allow the state of California to consider race and gender with the goal of eliminating discrimination in the state contracts, hiring, and college admissions. I saw that. I was looking into it. Some good information on it. I think yes is a big one for that. Definitely when it comes to people applying for school, housing, just taking that race off of the application for employment. I think that's some fair, transparent change here in California that we need. A lot of people, when they write down their ethnicity, they get knocked out of opportunities on some stuff, and I think that's a good thing to stop with. That's the first start of eliminating some of the discrimination that's happening to people on college, and some of the applications for hiring and stuff. What do you guys think about Prop 16?
For me, I mean, let's face it, affirmative action has been in place for, quote unquote, affirmative action has been in place for a long time now. It doesn't mean that it has necessarily helped or hindered us in any way. But again, as a quote unquote beneficiary of affirmative action, I myself was a scholarship recipient, and I was a Black female double minority. I mean, the Small Business Association is also still utilizing those demographics and identifiers as far as special certificates to make you available for government contracts. There are definite aspects that have been infiltrated and indoctrinated into the system to whereas this level of affirmative action or identifiers are supposed to benefit folks. And there are also different ways that it can hinder folks. I just feel like me not checking that I am a Black American, that I am an African American, doesn't stop my name from being Cosma. Okay, it doesn't stop your name from being John, and from people feeling like, depending on, if my name was Ming Lee, I could be Black, I could be multiracial, I could be a superstar, a child star named Blue, but at the end of the day, there are other ways to filter out and to discriminate against any particular candidate. I do feel like this is an attempt to kind of defrag some of those things, but it is just that it is just one of many layers in this system where these things that have been built in as affirmative action are trying to be dismantled. My personal opinion is don't placate me. Don't carry me along. Don't rock me with the BS. Like, if you really want to make some systematic change, make some systematic change. And so with that, I digress. Aisha, your thoughts?
I mean, looking at it, they're trying, one thing in particular, though, I'm sorry, when I'm reading it, it's also saying that the federal would still be in place. So if the federal standards don't change, then, and it's a federal contract, they're going to go by that. So again, it's only going to be for certain things within California that it's going to actually impact. And I understand. I mean, I'm Aisha. You look at the name and you're like, okay, you're still going to potentially discriminate and do whatever you're going to do anyway. So, yes.
So I mean, one thing that I'm definitely, I need to look more into it because one of the things that they use, they say the overwhelmingly poor and Black and brown, and I know one of the loopholes that's been happening for contractors in the state of California is the minority clause has affected Black and brown contractors getting state, city, and federal contracts, and one of those loopholes are a lot of corporations are construction business mainly. What they'll do is because of the minority status, they'll put the business in their wife name, and then their wives will get the minority status and get the contract. So I want to look a little bit more in this proposition. I'm hoping that they really are looking at how do we secure Black and brown, because I know what happens. I talked to other contractors, and what happened is if you're a Latino or a Black contractor, you still lose out on those benefits when the white contractors or the other contractors use their wives as minorities. So I want to look a little bit more into that and bring that up for our next week conversation, because I know that's a big concern, especially being a Black contractor or being a Black person, trying to secure state contracts because they use these different um, slogans or these terms for minority status to get these contracts. What happened is the other contractors find out the loopholes and they still wind up getting the contracts, and then Black and brown contractors never get the contract. So I want to look a little bit more into that one. I think that's something that we need to definitely, before we vote yes on, need to make sure that is sufficient for the Black and brown community. Kasha, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I think in touching on that, having recently gone through that um, government contract process, there are organizations like um, Dunn and Burke and all these other kind of places that traditionally we as small businesses, as minority business, that we are not even aware of. And so when you go to fill out these applications, you need certain identifiers, you need certain qualifiers just to even be able to apply. As an independent business owner, I don't have the necessary bandwidth to support myself through that process in the timelines in which they've outlined them. So already, because we don't have the financial structure to apply utilizing a CPA or going through a financial advisor, our structure of business and in our community, we have not outlined a system and have not identified those personnel within our own community that can help us with these processes. So when you make the process as cumbersome as it is and as difficult as it is, who then has the bandwidth to apply, let alone to make it through the process and then to put the bid together for the contract? So in many different facets, we've already disqualified ourselves. This proposition actually came up, which encouraged me to go ahead and figure out the process and to at least start the process so that I could then support other community-based and minority-owned businesses to be successful in this process. And it is pretty tedious. It is pretty tasking, and financially, like, you have to be ready. You have to know, I need my EIN. I need my 2 years of taxes. I need to, register with these 3 organizations before I can even apply for this certification. And unfortunately, we haven't invested the time and the energy into those processes as some of the other communities have. And so I don't necessarily believe, personally, for me, that this is the answer that we are looking for. However, I do accept the fig leaf as a start. But like you said, I think we really need to delve a little deeper into some of these things and how systematically they impact us.
Yeah, definitely. Good points. That's just what we have to do. Well, we'll move along to the next one. Proposition 17. I know this is big for a lot of the Black and brown community. Proposition 17 is talking about restoring the voting rights for parolees. This would allow parolees to vote and important step forward to disenfranchise groups of people who are overly poor and Black. I think this is definitely we should take up not only in the state of California, on a national level. People are still human beings. People make mistakes. Yeah, they get arrested, they go to prison, but I think their voice still should be heard in the process because there's a lot of things that has affected them, and they should have a voice as well. So I know there's a big yes on that. But if you guys want to expand on anything, please go ahead.
So for me in Prop 17, having been a person who has worked in mental health and in the prison industrial complex, been a person who's been an advocate for schools, not jails. I've taught in the prison industrial complex in our local communities and counties. I've been a teacher in community-based environments, and it's true that everybody's a human being, and that your former status or even your current status should not affect your ability and your right to vote. I will say that. However, the way this proposition is written up, it removes one system and replaces it with another. So the underlying issue for me is that we can take away this so-called bail system to level the financial playing field, but then we place it into the hands of traditionally the judges, who then, underneath this new system, have the ability to take recommendation off of an algorithm based upon certain personal qualifiers. So now we're trusting an AI system on whether or not we should give this person bail or not give this person bail. And then we're putting it into human hands, again, traditionally non-people of color, male, to make determinations about people of color and more typically male. So if we are to get rid of one unbalanced and unfair system, I would rather support it with a more balanced and fair system. I don't particularly care for the idea of removing one system and replacing it with another that can be just as hindering and not helpful. So that's just my feedback on that. I still am kind of like up in arms on where I really sit with that, because while I don't believe that financial constraints should be a determinant on whether somebody should gain access to freedom. And if you tie yourself up in bail and you do one wrong thing, then you get all of the charges or anything like that. I don't believe in that. I also don't believe that this answer, that the way that they have constructed it written in, is an appropriate answer for this system.
Personally, I do, reading it, or at least taking a look at it, do think that after you have done your time, that you should be able to vote, to have a say. Because what you're doing is saying, okay, I did my time, I did everything that I was supposed to do, but now I am back in society and I'm not able to do anything. I'm not able to help make those changes that after being in the system to help others. So I mean, looking at it, it seems, at least on the surface, to be able that these parolees, again, it's aligning with some of the other states as well, and allowing them to be able to vote and start to have a say and feel like you are back in the community and can make change.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important. Definitely we should check into that more. That proposition is going to affect a lot of people either way. So definitely people get out there, look into Proposition 17. So I guess with that, we'll move on to another popular proposition that people are heavily involved with. That is Proposition 18. This would allow young people who are 18 at the time of the general election to vote preceding the primary elections when they are 17. I think this is a definitely a yes for people. I think our young people are intelligent enough. They're able to engage and make decisions. So if if a person is one of these young people are 17 in high school, turning 18 in the upcoming election, I think that is powerful for them to have a voice to be heard on what's going on in the future. I think our young people are ready. I know a lot of time traditionally people think that our young people are not involved, but a lot of them do want to be involved. And I think this is a good opportunity to have our young people voices heard for their own decision of where they're going. And I know a lot of people say, well, if we have all these kids voting and their parents are this party or that party, the kids are automatically going to do that. And I just don't believe it. I think our young people are wise enough now. I think our the young people that we have that's involved in the political process are very in tune of what's going on, and they have their own feelings and opinions. And I think um, Proposition 18 will definitely give them that power to exercise their rights. So that's where I'm seeing for Proposition 18.
This is actually one proposition that I'm all for. I believe that traditional movements are held in the hands of the youth. The world that they are going to live in is the world that's coming, and they should be able to shape it. I feel like if we invest and get youth more involved at an earlier age, the more balanced our society will be, because they can take ownership of it and they can decide the kind of world that they want to live in. I think that they also have other thoughts and other transitions that we don't have, is people who have lived in a certain time period. And because of the world that we've had, it's shaped and created, they see things differently. And I feel like the youth are more united in a way that traditionally our ancestors and our communities haven't been. And while I don't necessarily personally think that integration was the best thing for Black people, I do believe in diversity. And so I think that our young people really have an idea of what they want to see and how they want things to be, and that their voices should be heard. Aisha?
Seeing as that I have a 19-year-old son, getting him started and engaged more in elections and the political climate and what's going on, not just on the, again, not just for the president, but as his local representatives, initiatives, I think it is important so that these kids start. They are more involved now. They are having those conversations. It is not just, oh, okay. I mean, I don't feel like my son is just focused on what I think. He's having his own opinions. He's starting to look at his future. And again, starting at 17, it's basically saying getting you ready for either, I think it was special election or primaries leading up to the general election is part of the reason they're driving 18, but Proposition 18. But getting the youth involved sooner is great, so that, guess what, we can start looking at these elections results, and it's only 15% of the population or 30%. That hopefully it'll be a lot larger if we get these kids and young adults involved sooner. And they're not looking at us in the end like, well, why is this like this? Well, you know what, let's let them have a voice. Let them start having a voice in it so that they know what to do. And again, maybe we can make good trouble, as John Lewis says. Let's get out there and vote.
Yeah, I think that's definitely very important. We have some talented young people. We have some young people with energy, and definitely with the political climate that we have, we definitely need some young energy, some new ideals, and some things that can push us forward. Um, as a state, as a country, I think it's very important that our young people voices are heard. And I think one of the comments that I've seen in there, they was talking about the last proposition. Basically, when somebody was saying that if the parolees have to pay taxes and get a job, they should have a right to vote. And I definitely concur with that. We want our parolees to work and do this, and they should have the right to vote. So I think that was important. We're gonna roll down to the next one. This one is a big one out there. I see a lot of commercials on Proposition 20. They are asking people to vote no on 20. That's repelling the criminal justice reform because it brings back higher prison spending and extreme sentences for minors or minor crimes. And I think that's why everybody's going no on 20. Definitely in California, we had a big problem with over sentencing people with the three strike law, giving people a lot of time for minor crimes. How do we get our communities, like Casa was talking earlier, how do we get our community more engaged with people when they come out of prison, when they transitioning home? I think we need to find more help. I mean, especially right now with the times we're going in, there are a lot of people out of work. There's a lot of minor crimes happening in San Francisco. We have a big problem with car burglaries, people breaking in cars, doing anything they can to try to feed their families right now. We have a big crisis with our state unemployment department right now. People are not able to get unemployment because there was people, committing fraud. So a lot of other people have been impacted by that. So there's a lot of minor crimes. And the last thing we want is to have California prisons increase. For minor crimes. I mean, it's happening. But how do we impact the community with opportunities? How do we get funding and resources so that we don't have to deal with some of these minor crimes that's happening? Burglary seems to be a big one in the Bay Area. I mean, there's more car break-ins than anything in homes. And right now, people are just in a survival of the fittest mode and not excusing the behavior, but just saying that this is really what's happening. And if a proposition like 20 goes to yes, we'll take car burglars who's breaking in cars, stealing a change out of your ashtray, or even for a $200 window to be fixed. And giving these people, 10, 15, 20-year sentences. And I just don't think that's what we need right now. Even though they are committing crimes, these minor crimes, I would hate to see people who are just trying to steal out your ashtray or cost you $150 window to get 20 years in prison. So definitely no 20 is looking like something I need to just do a little bit more further resource on. But definitely we don't want to increase the funding in prisons. We need to do a little bit more of trying to rehabilitate people and give people that opportunity to get out here and do something. But it's a challenge. It's just a challenge. And California is big on locking people up, and we just need to continue to educate our people and get them opportunities and invest. And I think Prop 20 would definitely, if it gets passed for yes, it will definitely affect people in California with some of this minor crimes. Is, we just don't want that. I mean, I don't want to see people committing crime, but again, I just don't want to see my prison taxpayer dollars, holding people incarcerated. We know in California it costs about $90,000 to $100,000 to house an inmate for a year, and I don't know. I don't want to waste $100,000 on somebody who broke into a window for $20 and change or something. But definitely, we have to find a way to get these people some help, some job training, some ways to get some income so that they're not doing that. And I think that's where we could start there. I mean, for the $100,000 that we're paying us to lock somebody up, we could use that money to help invest in our community with some job training and get some of these corporations who get all these tax breaks to come to our cities and our states to invest in the community. So that's my point on 20.
Okay, so I agree with my brother Art in the chat. It's not necessarily change they stealing. I mean, for me, they went around my car or all the windows before I even had plate. Talk about hot. Okay, as hard as I work, as much community building as I do, y'all busting my windows, y'all bibbing my windows. Like, really? So to all you bibbers out there, put that stuff up. It's a minor crime, but it is a major problem. I definitely agree with you, Art. And to that, I will say, I think that this is an aspect where reform and restructuring comes into place, because while right now it is a minor crime and it is a major problem, there are no consequences to it. So for you to be able to walk down a row and bip 20 cars and get caught in the commission of the crime, receive a ticket, provide a false address, don't have to show up to court, like, I'm not okay with that. I think that there needs to be more stringent regulations on how we process it, but the consequences to the effects that I don't feel like are fair and appropriate. I think that across the board it needs restructuring. So yes, I do believe that you should be held accountable so that you know that fat meat is greasy. I also don't think that you should give 20 years of your life because you biffed the window and you took my chucks and my new gray sweatsuit and my because we can backpack. I don't agree with that. So I think that people should be mindful of the consequences of said crimes. And so I do think that while there should be some fee structuring, if you committed a crime and the contents were up to a certain amount, this is how much community service you have to do, or this is where you should have to do community service. But I also think that there should be other restorative services that are in place, like job placement, like education. Many of these people are suffering from mental health and from homelessness. And so we should have other systems and other programs that impact their lives on a more tangible way, rather than just incarcerating them and making our that pipeline stronger. Like, I don't believe in that either. So I'm 50-50 on it, but I do want them to quit bipping folks' windows. That's just like, come on, y'all, we got other things to do. And don't want to pay that high ass insurance. Like, excuse me, but I don't.
Question, John and Kashla. One thing also in Prop 20, they would also be collecting DNA samples for things that are considered misdemeanors that they didn't before. And I don't know about you, I don't like my stuff out there. I mean, I'm not committing any crimes, but now they're going to start collecting DNA on certain misdemeanors now with Prop 20 compared to just if it was felonies. How do you feel about that?
I feel like they've been collecting our DNA. I feel like they've been collecting our DNA. They have all of our facial profiles. Let's just face it. When they did the Patriot Act and can start listening to people's phone, and if you listen to this person talking to this person, they had everything that they wanted to know. They have everything that they want to know through these cell phones, through the smart TVs, through your navigation. They have absolutely everything that they need. If you could find a person across the country for doing A, B, and C, you can find somebody around the corner and they've been doing A to Q the whole time. Like, I'm not with that. So they're doing it. The situation is that these things have already been into place. Now they're fortifying laws to strengthen the stuff that they've already done. I mean, like, you're not asking me, you're not giving me a heads up. You're basically telling me this is what we've done, and now we want to okay it in through this back door. Again, don't placate me, right? There's a comment in the chat that says, like, these are gateway crimes. This is a gateway crime to like larger things. Okay. And I do believe in that. I do believe that if a person gets away with something so often, so much, that it increases their power dynamic, and it increases the level of power and control that they feel that they have over a certain situation. And then they think that they could just get away with other stuff. If no, ain't nobody checking for me, if it's not really that big a deal, then I could just do this and I can just do that. And having worked with youth for over 20 years, I understand the thought process, and I do know that that is the escalation. As to keep it real with y'all, some of these crews that bit, I know and I work with, and so when I walk in the store and I see them, I already know what they're doing. The fact of the matter is that they don't have people checking for them from the family systems, from the so-called group home systems, from the foster care systems. Like, we have abandoned our youth in certain aspects, and so they just out doing stuff because they really don't have anything else to do. This is my issue. So when I talk about restructuring and reallocating funds, I'm talking about job placement, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about putting livable wages in these young people's pockets so that they can understand that fast money and easy money is not the only money. And this is actually money that you can earn, keep, sustain, and feel good about. They want something that they can feel good about. They don't feel good going out there and doing this and knowing that it could impact somebody. But that immediate sense of gratification that they get, and that adrenaline rush that is changing their chemistry and changing their biology every time it happens, is a real thing. These are real things that are going on. And so while we have these propositions that say, okay, we're going to support citizens this way and we're going to support you in that way, I really want us to look at the secondary implications that it has on our young people. You want to give them the right to vote, but you're also criminalizing them on another platform. And so I just really need for people to dig deep into these propositions and into these laws and see where it really benefits us as a community, where it really doesn't.
Right. So I want to jump in there, and this is both sides of the conversation. So I'm gonna play both sides of the conversation right now, like Rico would do. But I think one of the important things that you hit on about the DNA thing is, once I start talking about this, they're gonna go back to John the radical conspiracy theory. But really, I believe, with this COVID testing, you got to understand, when you're swabbing and they sticking stuff up your nose, they're gathering a DNA bank. I've been telling people for the longest that don't think that they're not taking that DNA, put it in the system. I think with this Proposition 20, what it's doing is, because our young people have not been put in the database, I think that's why they're saying minor crimes to take DNA, right? Because the criminals that's committing felonies and major crimes, they're going to get their DNA anyway, right? And if you notice, that's a big trend in California, especially because it's already a policy in place that if you're arrested for a felony, not convicted of it, if you're arrested for a felony DUI or something that's a felony, they swab and take your DNA anyway. And a lot of the police departments have exercised that right to actually just write up the charge as a felony so that they can take people DNA. But I think this Proposition 20, when it comes to minors with the DNA, these minor crimes, I think what they're doing is kind of attacking more the young people, because our young people typically are doing minor crimes, that's misdemeanors, breaking into cars, stealing out of grocery stores, having fights, little assaults and things of that nature. And I think that just gives the police the opportunity to start running the teenage people DNA into the system. So I think that's one of the things that you have to be aware of. But I think to just follow back on what Kosh was saying, I think all of our DNA is in the system. I think they running us all day with the artificial intelligent or the AI intelligent, through our smartphones. They got your fingerprint, they got your face login when you do face ID. It's all being tracked. So I think we already there. I think this is just a way to kind of get more to young people. But definitely they running. I mean, every day I'm reading articles of how DNA is bringing up cold cases and different things of that nature. So I think it's already happening. I just think it's the way the DA prosecutes it. I think it's the way that they're handling it. But definitely, I have to agree with you guys. I think it's already happening, and we just have to understand that's what it's about. But as far as these kids bipping and stuff, it is a state of emergency in the Bay Area of car breaking-ins. I mean, this thing has definitely went to a new level. I mean, I've had my car broken into several times, and I understand the frustration and what Costin and them saying. I mean, we have to put a stop to it. But again, one of the challenges working with our young people, me and Rico, we talk about this all the time, is how as a community we help these young people when they're on Instagram and we talk about getting these young people jobs. As adults, we understand that there's certain wages and how money is allocated through work. And I think it's a struggle for our young people. You see them on Instagram. You see all these young people around, flashing $5,000, $10,000 off a bip that they did. They made money off breaking into a car. They found money in the car. Like, A-Rod was out here. They broke in his car, stole $500,000 worth of equipment. So for the young people, yeah, jobs is great, but I think one of the problems is they feel like if they go to work, it's not enough money. What's $20 an hour when I could go out here, break in a car in 10 minutes, steal somebody's laptop, cell phone, like you said, your nice coat or a pair of Jordans or whatever you have in the car, and I can go sell in the community and make a few $1,000s in 30 minutes. I mean, I think that's the mindset we got to work on, because our young people, they just look at like, oh, I got to go to work for eight hours and I'm only gonna make $100. I can go break in two cars and make $5,000. So I think, trying to figure out how do we assess that and help them. I think that's the challenge. That's where the challenge is, because I know if there was an opportunity for them to make some decent money, they probably wouldn't. But again, if you're making $20 an hour after an 8-hour day and you're only making $100 or something less, I don't know if that's convincing to our young people.
And I think that's why we have to create more of an intrinsic system. It's not just about the money, right? The money is a byproduct, but money itself is still a tool. And we have to teach our young people that. We also have to build in, like, you don't necessarily have to have a job. You can be an entrepreneur. You can work for yourself. Like, there are several different things. Bring back trades. Bring back, if there's a child who has a creative bone in their body, let's look into that. Everybody don't have to bounce a ball. Everybody don't. And now with COVID, we see how putting that system in that emphasis on sports with our kids, how it's been a hindrance to them. A lot of kids are not receiving scholarships like they did. So where we were, athletically focused, and now we're shifting back to academics, and we realize how inept our academic system and educational system has been to our children. I think that that's where we need to reshift our focus. And so while I do believe that folks who are committing misdemeanor crimes need to be held accountable, I do believe that there's this certain thing that when I was growing up and when my parents were growing up, that there were a certain level of infractions that you could have where they would just say, that's just child behavior. It's developmentally appropriate for certain folks to have this aspect of their lives where they go through things. But let's face it, it's not just our young people. People need training. People need upbringing. People need to be brought along. People need to have skills assessments. People need real education. And education doesn't just happen in a classroom. I'd like to say that too. Our world and our economy is transitioning. And I believe that all of this is interwoven into how we create our world and our society. And we don't need to just look at the systems of what's happening. We need to also look at what is not happening and what we need to be putting into position to have healthier, more whole, more complete lifestyles. I don't want to work to live. I'm not promoting that for my young people. I am not promoting that for my young people. I believe in residual incomes. I believe in having trades. I believe in having skill sets, and I believe in being paid handsomely for them, right? I believe in working smarter, not harder. And so these are some of the aspects that I'm hoping that we're able to instill in our people, period, not just young people, so that we all can know and feel like there are other options than just fast money, whether it's from bipping or from sliding or from these EDD, licks or whatever folks is doing nowadays. And stop putting your stuff on social media. Whatever you're doing, people, just stop putting it on social media, please. Please.
We got a couple comments. We had a couple comments in the chat. I think somebody was saying the flip side of the DNA thing is that it would help solve some of these cold cases, and I mean that definitely will. It will help some of that. Um, and then also it will release some people from jail. DNA has definitely released a lot of inmates that have been falsely accused. So it's a both side. The scary thing is with DNA is one of the biggest things that's always been talked about is once they start playing with the DNA, it's scary for people because they can use your DNA to put you at the scene of a crime. They can use your DNA to do a lot of things. So I think that's where more of the fear is. But definitely, if they're using it for releasing inmates or cracking cold case for some families, that's closure for them. But also, you have to watch out. You know, we live in a corrupt society. We see what's going on what's going on, and there are people out there that can use the DNA against you as well. So we just have to be careful which way we going with the DNA thing. So I think that's
No,
important.
and I understand. I had where there was an ex of mine who had committed a crime back when I knew him, and he got arrested again, and his DNA was taken. And at that point, they were able to crack the old case, and he was convicted of it, and gave some closure to the family. Other than that, they wouldn't have solved it. So yeah, I understand, and he did do it. So yeah, it does bring closure. It'll actually get those off the street that actually are doing those crimes. So it is a 50-50 thing.
All right, well, we're just going to move along. Again, I see people in the chats. If you want to get up on the live with us and talk about some of the things that you're supporting or backing, or you want to join the conversation, please raise your hand because I know some people have some candidates that they're supporting or some propositions that they're supporting. If you want to talk about it and let the people know why you supporting it from your perspective, I think that'll be good. But let's move down to the next proposition. This is another one that's big on the headlines here in California. A lot of people are talking about Proposition 21. It's a rent control proposition. This is a tricky proposition because it affects both sides of the conversation. You know, one side is as a business owner, as a landlord, I want to be able to make money. I want to be able to invest. I'm getting in business to make money. And then the flip side of it is people want rent control so that they're not being priced out of their communities because that's happening in a large amount here in the Bay Area. People are being kicked out just because of the rents. We have all these technology companies and companies coming in here, jacking up the rents and the prices for their employees. And then a lot of them leave and then we're stuck, right? The gentrification process begins. So, yes on 21 is what people are trying to get behind. And I know there's a large number of people that's saying no, but Prop 21 is talking about giving back local communities the power to control rent increases, which was taken away in corrupt power grab 25 years ago. So there was some loopholes made a long time ago for landlords to increase the rent on people. They put some moratoriums in place to kind of slow down how much they can increase. And I think Prop 21 is going back. A lot of business owners, a lot of developers, a lot of apartment complex owners who is pushing for this bill because definitely they want to get the market rate rent. And we know here in the Bay Area, the market rate rent sometimes for a single family could be outrageous. A one bedroom or a studio can cost you $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And so I know this is a big topic for people. People are going back and forth, but I also understand on the business side, if you're a homeowner and you own these properties and you do have companies coming in that's going to increase your payroll, you definitely want those dividends. But I think it's more people affected who are living there. So, Kaz, what you think about this one, Prop 21?
Let me see here. I'm trying to say, y'all know I shoot from the hip. So I'm trying to remember that we on live and this is going to be recorded and played again. I think that we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. I think that the state of California is rigged up. And I think that If I was a property owner, I would want to have the flexibility to say what went on in property that I own. I think that we tread into a really sticky situation when we say work to do this and obtain this and obtain that, and then other people get to tell us what to do with things that we have accomplished. I'm not for that. And if it doesn't benefit me, then it doesn't benefit me. But I want complete ownership and complete governance of things that I own. So for me, I don't necessarily support it because it begins to create and validate a world where other people can tell me and dictate to me what I can and cannot do with what it is I've earned. And I'm not for that. So, from a theoretical and practical nature, it's just hard for me to support it. While though it may benefit me as um, a renter or something like that, I think that if you don't like it where you at, and do something else about it, but don't tell me what to do with my stuff. It's mine. I don't want people being able to tell me what to do with my stuff. Aisha?
Yeah, no, I mean, where I live in Contra Costa County, and I see it. And I see how they're trying to impose that. Say, I've seen it in Lafayette, I've seen it in Concord, Pleasant Hill, making sure that they are doing affordable housing, but then also rent control. But then again, if I owned a property, I'd want to be able to establish it, because guess what? Everybody else making their money. Everybody else getting a piece. Why are now, since I've decided to join in and say rent out something, that I'm not going to be able to fully benefit like my neighbor next door? I do see, kind of looking at it, it also talks about it's amending the state law to allow established rent control on rental properties over 15 years old. So I'm not sure, again, what was the law before, but it looks like it's trying to expand that so that even if you have had it longer, that maybe rent control's off, and it placed that into it, which I don't think is fair. But then again, that's my opinion.
So I think that's a good conversation to happen, because, also what's happening, because these props are holding these homeowners or these landlords up. Um, we've been noticing that there's been a lot of fires in apartment complexes in the Bay Area. And it always brings the question to me, for these landlords, the only way they can get out of the rent control or to increase the rent is some tactics of that nature. So I'm just concerned. Either way, I want to look a little bit more into it. But I know in the Bay Area, we've been having a lot of apartment complex burned down. Um, things happen that's kind of suspect. And when you kind of read up on the articles and some of these landlords, they've been, trying to get rent increases from their tenants. Um, so I'm hoping that that's not happening, where people finding out the loopholes. If the place burned down and you remodel it, you can increase the rent on people. I'm just hoping that's not what it is. But I just noticed over the last several months, it's just been a lot of apartment fires. And I know this proposition is definitely something that's affecting people to make their money. And there are loopholes that um, they can't get out of as landlords to increase the rent. So I'm just hoping that's not what it is. But I've just noticed, for whatever reason, there's just been a lot of in older apartment complexes, or in complex where people who've been there for a long time has been forced out due to fires. And I just hope that's not really happening. But definitely that's a proposition I definitely want to look at more. I mean, it's just a tough one, as a business owner. It's always that 50-50, where I'm a business. I want to make money. I'm getting in business to make money, not to not to make money. So, and then you have to look at the seniors. You have to look at the young people as well, and say, hey, these people are on fixed incomes, And it starts to come down to the moral value. Is it greed, or is it, you have to do the right thing for the people that's in need? So definitely a challenging proposition.
Yeah, I think too that there are already some things that are in place. Like cities have ordinances where property owners can raise the rent so much with inflation or cost of living annually. And I think that if people take advantage of those things and if people can have the opportunity to scale up with the property and with the property owner, it just makes sense. What I'm not here for is for these quote unquote slumlords charging top dollar because they're getting Section 8 and then they want everybody else to pay this gap and absorbent difference. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can slice up this property pie in California and in the Bay Area. It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping that people have more of a moral compass when dealing with their properties. I also think that we need to stop accepting so much outside investments from from international investors and from private investors who just want to come into communities like Oakland, like San Francisco, and buy up Fillmore, buy up downtown, buy up East Oakland. You're not even here. You don't even know what it means to live in this area, yet you can determine the future and the present of people who are in an area. I think that if people don't have a vested interest in a community, they shouldn't be able to just massively purchase up the community, especially without having a certain level of community benefit. If you are a developer, whether you are private or public, you should have certain levels of community benefit before executing your projects. If you are a property owner, certain aspects of your property taxes should go to benefiting that local community, not just the schools. You have parks, you have infrastructure, you have roadways, you have all these things that need to be attended to, um, food programs and all of that. I think that we should do a better job of dispersing our taxes as it relates to property taxes to cover these things in local communities where they are, no matter where you are physically. If you own a property here, then that a portion of those taxes need to go to benefit that area. Especially with these properties with absorbent rent. And I think that that should just be on a percentage base so that folks stop doing that. You know what I mean? It decreases the benefit of having people like just gouge the tenants when they're held accountable in other aspects. And that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that's important. We definitely have to figure out a way to figure out the taxes or some kind of percentage to help people out. It is a mess. It's a nightmare in California, and we definitely have to do something about it. So we're gonna just move along here. Let's jump into this is the most uh, controversial proposition so far, and I know California is jumping on as the leader in it, but I know it's going to affect the country at some point. We're talking about Proposition 22. This is people are saying no on it, people are saying yes on it. Basically, it's these Lyft and these gig jobs, right? So basically, like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, all these different companies, and a lot of people are saying yes on it. People are saying that they want to be able to have a freedom to work when they want and have to be able to schedule it. But a lot of people are pushing no on 22 because they understand too that these companies they use these tactics to get workers in there and it's slave labor. And I think no on 22 is the way I'm going. I see Art raising his hand, but let us just ask this real quick and then pull Art up. Um, for me, this is nothing with both sides of the conversation. This is my personal opinion. I did the lift um for a while. I tried it out. I was hearing all these great things that people were making side money doing it, and I tried it. And one of the things that I found out instantly is when they first signed me up, it was this great thing of like, hey, you could make $50 an hour, doing this X, Y, and Z. And when I first started, it was like $50 an hour. Like I'm picking all these people up, and it was like good pay. And then after I've been there for a while, I noticed is that the rise and the cost went down. So it was a period of a month where I was like, I'm only making $15 an hour. Like you'd be waiting for rides. So I definitely seen that. And then the benefits, right? And I get it. There's some people who have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, or this is just something they doing on the side. But we also have to be conscious and remember that there are people out there that's doing this for their sole source of income. And I just want people to think about that when they go to the voter booth. Just remember, don't get caught into the yes or people like, hey, I want to have my own schedule and this and that, right? There are actual people who are doing Lyft and Uber and DoorDash as their income, and those people need insurance. They need coverages that these companies are not giving them, right? And then we all see the stories on the news where these drivers are being attacked, violated, all kind of things. And you have to understand, as an independent contractor, the company, the corporation is not responsible for workers' comp or any of the damages that come to those independent drivers. So I think the no part of prop is, restructuring that. And if somebody is harmed or injured or attacked on the job, they have the same liberties that we all have working for companies, workers' comp coverage, insurance coverage if they have to be taken off of work, sick leave, paid leave, and even unionizing them. Because again, these companies will take advantage. They'll sell you this thing of, yeah, vote yes on it because you could keep your schedule. I believe that there's a way that people still can work independently, work the schedules when they want, but also be protected. And I think that's one of the things that I want to say. And I think that's why the no for 22 is important. We just don't want the people who just doing it on the side, making a few dollars. We have to also think about the overall people who are doing this for a living. They need benefits because we all seen the issues that taken place when we had giant companies like Walmart coming in the community, even Amazon. They making billions and billions of dollars, and they got employees homeless. They have employees that don't have medical coverage. And I think we need to all think about that when we go talk about this proposition. Go ahead, Kash. I'm gonna pull Art up, but go ahead.
And again, I think this is why I go back to what is the level of community benefit, right? If you're not taking care of your employees, you're not taking care of the community. And that's not helping us, especially here in California, where they're trying to stack us on top of one and top of another and top of another. Like it's not helpful. So I do believe that they should have access to insurance. I do believe they should have access to benefits. I know that if, as a gig worker, you have somebody, if that is your sole source of income, and you working all day and you go out and you hit the strip and you picking up folks and somebody throw up in your car, you have to pay for that. The company does not pay for that. So where you might have worked the last 4 hours, now that money is gone because now you have to pay to clean your car. And then to support the drivers in aspects like that, in filing grievances among, to riders who have had infringements in their car or been disrespectful or, ripped their car seats or something like that. There has to be a way where they support the drivers and the workers in recouping some of these funds that go into doing this work. You know what I'm saying? There are all sorts of apps that we use: Instacart, Postmates, all these kind of food delivery services and all the like. It's not just rideshare companies. So I think that, TaskRabbit, people who come out and help you build things or do certain projects in your home, there are all sorts of gig economies that need coverage so that the people in our community stop being taken advantage of. And I think that that's the part of this particular proposition that I'm looking at.
Asia, you want to say something, Asia, and then we'll let Art jump on.
I find it interesting that a lot of the companies are the ones that are pushing back on it. Like, you have so many workers right now. And again, I've seen different things where people are, like we talked about, that this is their main source now, especially with COVID and everything that's going on. And now these companies, wasn't it just, what was it, a couple of weeks ago where they were like, we're going to pull off, we're going to take Lyft, we're going to take Uber out until after to see what they're going to do and so you're telling your employees that you don't matter, that, instead of waiting and letting the people make their decision. You said, okay, screw it. We're going to push the issue by saying, okay, we're going to halt all operations in California, right? Uber and Lyft were talking about doing that. And then they backed off. But I mean, to say that and to start taking away people's livelihood in this time when their normal job may be gone and you're going to cut that from them. I mean, people got to think, why would somebody do that? I mean, we need to protect these people. This is your neighbor. You may not realize that could be your neighbor, your sister doing that. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to take away your income and we're not caring and making sure that you have insurance and that your family's taken care of. You need to think about why they're pushing back on that.
What's going on, brother Art? I know you got something you want to talk about, man. Come on and give it to us.
You know, just listening to you guys' arguments for the proposition, it just reminds me when I first became an entrepreneur, September 29th, 2014 was the last day I had a job. And I remember I called myself trying to incorporate Uber into my multiple streams of income. I did it for 2 weeks. My goal at the time was just to make $100 a day, right? I do that within about 4 hours and I'll stop. I wasn't trying to make this a full-time job. It was just one of my multiple streams of income. But when I hear you guys say this could be your neighbor, this could be this person, this could be their full-time livelihood, and then makes me think of, well, why would you choose something that's so unstable to be your full-time livelihood? You know, at the end of the day, you working in the industry that you're choosing to work in. No one is forcing you to work in this industry. Why not try to find something that's more suitable that can meet those needs of providing you with insurance or retirements and things of that nature? A gig job is literally what it's supposed to be. But what happened was over the years, people turned it into a full-time means of income. And now that it got oversaturated with more people turning it into a full-time opportunity, it started taking away money from people who were solely doing this as a livelihood. Now you have competition. Now everybody and their mama is doing these gig jobs, which now is no longer a gig job. So my reasoning for most likely voting yes on Prop 22 is because I'm an entrepreneur and no one is paying for my medical insurance. No one is, even the companies I work with as a quote unquote 1099 or independent contractor, I'm paying for all that myself. You know, I chose an industry that's going to allow me to be able to afford that lifestyle for my family versus just this gig job. It's sort of like the person who's a barista or the person who's working at Applebee's as a waitress. Like, we are told in society, since they work in this job and since they're providing you with food, you got to leave them a tip. But the origination of why we leave tips has nothing to do with what it means in today's society. But yeah, we're asked upon to leave them tips because they don't make a lot of wages and they basically their livelihood is dependent on these tips. When in reality, their livelihood is dependent on the job that they're working, not so much the tips. But we created the society where that's what they survive off of. So I'm only voting yes for that simple reason. As a gig job and how it all started to what it's become, it's like we're punking this company into providing benefits, to providing better security for these drivers, when in reality that's not what it was created for. It was created for you to be able to make a living wherever you are. It was created to allow you to be able to make money, part-time. It was not created to be a full-time means for survival.
That's a good point. And this is both sides of the conversation. I definitely agree with you. I hear you, but then we have to look at the flip side of it, right? You made a good point, but you have to also realize we have 40 million people out of work in America, right? So people now.
Wait. But those 40 million people could learn them a trade, like Kyle said earlier. But no one wants to take the time out to take a 32-hour course to get their insurance license. It takes you 32 hours in the state of California to get you an insurance license. You could go sell insurance. But no, I don't want to do that because why? I'm not good at sales. Nah, if you want to survive, you're going to go do what it takes. So I got my insurance license when I was 24 years old, when I was working in the medical field as a pathology assistant. I got it because the woman said, hey, you can make a living off of this for the rest of your life. And at 24, I said, you know what? I want to make a living off of something for the rest of my life. And guess what? That's what I did. So no matter what I do, no matter how successful I become in all the other things I do, I'm gonna always maintain my insurance license.
Right. So this one thing. So yes, a lot of people like me, we have the drive, we have the inspiration to go do more, but we also have to think about the people who don't, right? For whatever reason, right? And then what about
Now we're gonna bail them out because they don't have the drive.
No, I'm not saying bail them up, but what about the single mother up there who had
I was a
kids?
single father at 17.
I know, I know. I was a single dad too. And I'm not trying to make excuses for people. I'm just
No, I'm just messing with y'all.
I'm just being the devil advocate right now. But there are some single parents out there, who fall on hard times. Maybe the man in the relationship left them. They struggling, and now, maybe they get.
Why the man gotta leave her? Like this. I agree with.
Hey, my daughter's mom bailed out on me when I was 19. So
I think what you're saying, and I'm saying, John, is that people have the right to choose. People have the right to choose and the right to determine, and they should be able to do that. Across the board, I think that we begin to tear away at the fabric of America and its original idea about people's right to choose. At least that's what we're told. When we start implementing, like you said, are these other safety nets and structures. If you want to be a barista, be a barista. You want to be a waitress, be a waitress. You want to be a gig worker, be a gig worker, but understand the confines of those particular roles and positions. Like you are, I myself have made sure to certify in several other things. You could be a notary within 20 hours, right? And always be a notary. You could be a signing agent within a week after doing your notary. You can do insurance. There's so many other things that you can do to fortify your income, but people have to make that investment. And it doesn't always have to be at a cost. We have a whole Peralta system out here that you can go and sign up for a class and learn other skills. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that we should belabor the point, but I do think that folks need to look at what's going to work for them. And then we should put what I am an advocate for is for protecting our right to choose, whether that be with our bodies, whether that be with our property, whether that be with our job. We should have the right to choose. And if you choose to be a gig worker, then just know what comes along with that.
Can I say one last thing before we switch? The fact that the companies are doing what they're doing and making it hard on those workers, why would you even want to work for a company that's not going to treat you right? That's why I left my job. I left it and I was a broker and I was making pretty good money. And I left it not because they was treating me unfair, but because they wasn't listening to me. You see what I'm saying? And for me, it was important for my voice to be heard. So I was like, yeah, I gotta just create my own opportunities. I can't no longer be in a position where my livelihood is predicated off of someone else. So if someone is a gig worker and don't like what they're doing, and we vote no and it gets passed, and then Uber and Lyft just say, you know what, we're out of California. Now what? Now what's gonna happen to all these workers? What are they gonna do now? Just like when this pandemic hit, we don't never have a plan B and C until we need to have a plan B and C. And then when you don't have a plan B and C, now somebody else got to come try to rescue you. So that's my last thing.
So I'm gonna say this, and I'm glad you talked about that, Art, because I'm gonna tell you right now what's destroying America. Capitalism, okay, is destroying us. Classism is destroying us. Me as a taxpayer, I have a great job. I have a great career. There's always opportunities to do other things, but I also have to be realistic and think about the overall impact that these gig businesses affect me, right? Because these people who are doing this gig work, if they out of work, what's going to happen? They're going on welfare. They're going for some kind of government assistance. What's going to happen? It's going to cost me in taxes. My taxes are going to be increased. So for me, I'm looking at the whole picture of it. yes, you choose this type of career, you should understand it. But then I'm also on the realization too that, okay, if these people in California don't do this work, what's going to happen is it's going to financially impact me because my taxes is going up, my property taxes is going up, because these people are going to need unemployment, they're going to need welfare assistance, they're going to need child care, and it's going to cost me. So then it's like, where do I stand? Do I help it, or do I advocate for it? Right? We
But
got
our taxes
Amazon,
gonna go up.
yeah, but
No,
we
but our
got,
taxes are always go up. You know, they're not gonna never go down. Our job as entrepreneurs and business owners is to find a loophole so we can avoid paying all those taxes. I mean, at least for me, that's what I do, because I it's inevitable. So for me, I'm always trying to find out how to avoid paying as much taxes as I can. It's like making six figures and then only paying, wages on roughly $20,000 is like, I mean, I live for that because it's like I had to figure it out. It's constant work. But being someone who's a gig worker, you have all these opportunities, and just I hear you, John. Just go ahead, man. I'm sorry, man.
I want to know. I want to hear you. This is a good conversation because I want to hear your perspective. Because not only the gig workers, right? I got an issue with like companies like Amazon, right? We got a company that's making trillions of dollars in America, right? But 75% of their workers cannot live on a workable wage, right? So they have people in their company who are homeless, right? They can't afford, and they don't want to structure their salaries around the states that they do business in. So here in California, a lot of these workers who make the minimum wage or the wages that they're paying, they can't even afford to live. So then we get pinched, right? They don't get them insurances. Like we have to, I think we have to look at the big picture. It overall affects us down the line. And that's just, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, we got candidates pushing their agenda. You're looking at where they first see the taxes going. I mean, some places they talking 50-60% tax increases, man. We already getting taxed to death. So I mean, I want to hear your perspective, but I'm just like, again,
That's the benefit of being an entrepreneur, though, right? You
I
pay
mean,
your taxes when you want to pay your taxes. Like if you're an employee, you just think about this. When you are an employee, you get paid after someone else already took your taxes. But when you're a business owner, you say, I'm gonna pay my taxes this quarter, that quarter, or at the end of the year, right? You have literally the options to pay them when you want to. And guess what? If you can't figure out a way to reduce your taxes, I just file for an extension, you know? And then in the midst of me having this extension, guess what? I figure it out. But when you're an employee, the system is not geared towards the employee, it's geared towards the business owner. And if I was a gig worker still, I would have started my own LLC. I would have rent my car out to me as an individual through my LLC. I would have just used all of that as a write-off. Like I would have linked up with an accountant or a tax advisor, and I would have figured it out. Versus, oh my God, we don't get this, we don't get that, and just complaining. Like I just don't get that. I don't know if it's because I'd been taking care of myself for so long, but I just don't get how adults don't want to figure it out, or the adults don't try to figure it out. And if I was a gig worker right now, I wouldn't be panicking. I'll be trying to figure out my next pivot. Like, where am I going to go now if all this changes and all this comes to a halt? But guess what? All those gig workers right now are not trying to figure it out. They're just sitting on their hands and they're twiddling their thumbs and hope that the proposition gets voted no, so they could go back to work and then have some benefits and then hopefully get it unionized and all these kind of things. Nah, man, if I was a gig worker right now, I'd be figuring out my next move.
so Art, if you're an entrepreneur, so if you make $100 million, it's okay to pay people $12 an hour. You okay with that, right?
Who am I paying $12 an hour? See, that all depends, right? It depends. I'm not paying my managers $12 an hour. It all depends on what position you're playing in the system. Right. And unfortunately, that goes for whatever system you in. The farmers don't get paid the same amount of money as the people who own the farm. If I'm in the field working all day, I don't make the same amount of money as the person who owns the actual farm or the cocoa bean farm. Right. Unfortunately, it is what it is. The person who owns the farm and who owns the business are taking way more risks they could lose it all. And guess what? That farmer could go work for the competitor.
Yeah,
The
that's true.
barista who works at Starbucks could go work at Pete's Coffee.
Yeah,
If I started a franchise right now, I'm in front of Pizza Hut. Typically, it's Pizza Hut Wednesday at my family house, but these kids been bugging me all day for some pizza. But I'm at a franchise. This is a franchise Pizza Hut, and I know this because I have filed a complaint, and the franchise owner called me directly, said, "Hey, I'm the franchise owner of this Pizza Hut." But guess what? She's taking all the risks operating and owning this Pizza Hut. If her employees decide to say, "Hey, we need to get paid more money," and she don't want to do it, they could quit and go somewhere else. But she's still stuck to try to figure it out. And I think sometimes as employees, they don't think like that. You know, there's employees, employers for a reason.
Yeah, I think you're right. But also and you're right. I mean, I definitely agree with you. And I also think that these gig worker jobs now has really impacted our communities, right? Because now it's essential. Before, I mean, it is a plus and a negative, right? When I used to live in Hunters Point, cabs wouldn't come to Hunters Point and take us to the airport. And now with Uber and Lyft, you can get a ride to the airport. So now it's become a need and an essential. And I just don't know. I think we have to really think about it, but we're gonna leave it up to the voters and the people. But I I just know that these things have now been they're part of our lifestyle now. Like it'll be hard to lose a Lyft or in an Uber because people use it for so many things. People use it for their kids, their teenage kids to get home, to get around. So now it's essential, and I just think that overall, all parties need to think about it, all the way up to the CEOs. It has to be a little give and take because we definitely need it, and it's going to impact us either way. But that's deep though. Good point, and also Art, thank you for you know what I'm saying, being a great dad, doing what you do. I'm always advocating for single dads out here. I raised my daughter. I understand um, the struggles and the challenges that we have. And me and Rico, we had a lot of these meetings, and it's a lot of talks going on about for women, but it's not a lot for men. And I always advocate and say, hey, there's a lot of single brothers out here raising their kids, and they need the same support. Because what happens is the black males and the males don't get the same support as the women, even though we know our women get more of the issues. But there is a lot of us out here that are doing a remarkable job raising our children and doing the things when sometimes women walk away from the responsibility. So I just commend you and salute you, my brother. I see you out there doing the work you do. I'll be following you.
And on that, like, salute to all the dads, salute to all the moms. I am not a birth child bearing parent, but although I have raised many children, shout out to my son, by the way, he's wonderful. But I would like to pivot back to the voter registration and the voter initiatives, which is why we are here. Sunday, November 1st, We Ride, We Vote will be partnering with the 100 Black Men of the Bay Area, and we will be supporting a ride from Martin Luther King Jr. Pool to the Western Addition and back. We'll highlight some of the businesses in those communities along the way. People are invited to bring out their families and participate in that ride. There will be and have been several partners that are invested as well as some of your city officials will be participating. So come out and join us for the ride that day. Also in East Oakland, Experience Sankofa Project, which is a live living art museum project chronicling the Maiafa experience to present day, will be happening at Eastmont Mall. Those tickets are available on Eventbrite. If you have not gotten your ticket for that experience is running Sunday, November 1st at 3 o'clock. You definitely want to do that. Whatever it is, however you do it, I'm encouraging everybody to take a little bit more onus in their own communities, get involved, get invested, know what's going on. We have food giveaways in East Oakland, West Oakland, every day of the week. So if you know of any families who need food, tap in with us and let us know what kind of conversations you feel are necessary to have. Tap in with us and let us know if there are panelists that you want to see on this platform. Just to reiterate, both sides of the conversation does have this Sunday conversation platform. We also have a Tuesday hidden gem platform and a Thursday's educational series platform. So if you want to nominate anybody for a hidden gem, whether they be from California, the Bay Area, or any other place, just tap in with us and let us know. The email and all of that information is available on our both sides of the conversation page. Feel free to tap in with John Henry, with Aisha, with myself, with Rico, with Jada, and get tied into what's going on and let us know what's going on with you and your local community, and who you want to hear from and who you want to see, so that we can also tap those folks in. So with that, John, Aisha.
I got two more propositions and we can wrap this up. We're getting close to the end. The first one is Prop 23. Prop 23 is about dialysis patients. They talking about increased protection for kidney patients, and asking everybody to vote yes on 23. I think that's important. I have a bunch of friends and relatives who are on dialysis dealing with kidney. So definitely we want to get the support that they need. And that's a challenge when you're going through a health crisis, or when you get to a point where your kidneys is failing. Not only a scare for the family, but financially it could be a burden. So that was one. Did y'all want to talk about that, or y'all okay with it?
I think that we should definitely be supportive of patients. And the doctors and the nurses that I talk to reflect upon how inundated they will be with. We have a program that works for people who need immediate life altering, life saving support, that works where they can go into a sterile and clean, attentive environment and receive life saving support. The doctors and the nurses that I talk to are afraid of being inundated into a system that's more volatile, that of an ER, that of a hospital, where they cannot safely control the environment for these patients that need very delicate care. So I'm definitely in support of this proposition from the patient aspect and from the service provider aspect, because we dealing with, our hands is full. Like, protect the people.
That my daughter's grandmother, she had gone through dialysis for years. I had seen it. They are wonderful people. And how many times these patients have to go? It's, it's not once a week. She's every other, what, it was at least three times a week she was going. So definitely in support of that, knowing again, the life-saving measures that are being taken there. But then also to make sure that there is appropriate staff and personnel there as well. So definitely want to support that, thinking of her.
All right, our last proposition we're going to cover today. I know there's a whole bunch more, but these were the highlighted ones that are really being pushed on our commercials and in our lives. The last one is yes on 25, is where people are asking everybody to go yes on 25. It's to end the money bill. I know Costa talked about it earlier. It's about the $2 billion profit bill. Industry has poured money into trying to uphold unfair system that deepens the racial economic inequalities and that fails to make our community safer. Definitely a yes on that. I've this bail thing is just, it's a nightmare, right? We have to figure it out, and we have to change how this is going. People that know me know I work in our jail system. I mentor youth. I'm very heavily involved with the county jail stuff, what's going on, and it's unfortunate that sometimes we have people that's locked up, haven't been charged, or been charged, haven't went to court, because of their financial situation. They can't be released with the bail system. So I'm definitely all in favor of trying to find a new way. How do we deal with people when they commit a crime, when they under the influence or on drugs or whatever the situation is? They get into the court system or they get into the jail, and because they don't have the financial means, they're stuck there, right? They lose their job, they lose everything. And again, I'm not taking those sides. People should be making the right decisions. I know some people go say, well, people shouldn't do things. Things happen for whatever the reason may be. But when we're talking about the equality, the equity part of it, and how it affects the community, A person could get arrested for something offset, somebody just making a complaint. We have it with what we see what's going on with all of these Karens and different people making false complaints against people. Um, a person could get locked up, lose their job, lose everything, their apartment, their home, because they don't have the financial money to go through the court process. And I think it just hurts our community. And we definitely have to find another way. And I believe there's so many ways that we could leverage it. I mean, with the technology that we have, people have ankle monitors, there's new apps, and there's technology that they could track people down. Um, I don't know, but I know the bail system is messed up. We just have to find a way to help people out so they're not incarcerated, waiting to go to court. I mean, it's a lot of people. We have people sitting in jail for 3 to 5 years, just not even going to court yet, dealing with stuff. So, yes,
Right.
on 25 is what everybody's pushing, and then I'll just hear from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down to do away with bail, but I also want people to be aware of um, what the proposed alternative is, right? Which again, I spoke to earlier, this algorithm and this AI system, and then putting even that, recommendation into the hands of folks who are traditionally not for us as a community. So again, systematically, we need to just restructure, and we need to have people more invested in law, in proposition, in legislation, in city government, in state government. We just need to be more present. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these things aren't created to have governance over anybody else but the Black and brown and minority community. So I am definitely a proponent of doing away with the bail structure. But I want us to be mindful of what the alternatives are so that we can hold those local authorities accountable, because that is where this is going to end up, in the hands of our local district attorneys, our local judges, and we need to know who those people are, because they will then become the gatekeepers of this new system. So just be aware.
Really, Kasha said it all right there. That's a mic drop.
All right. Before we go, I want to ask one question. I think Art might still be on here. I want to get his opinion too, or all you guys' opinion, and people that's watching, right? So I know people think I'm radical, and I know people think that I'm a little out there with my reasoning, my questioning, right? But one of
Who
the
you?
questions, say it again.
I said, who you? You?
I'm, I'm a little radical about certain things, and okay, our city's still on. I want to hear from you. So we're dealing with this national election. Everybody's seeing the things that's happening, right? We know that our president has appointed a federal judge or federal judges, a lot of federal judges. We've had our governor appoint federal judges. Um, I'm keeping this stance in my position that in order to change the systemic racism in America, it's a couple of things that we need to do, right? And I know people don't agree with it because it affects them, but one is we need to have term seats. We cannot allow our senators, our elected officials in public seats to hold seats for 50 years. I'm a big component of we need term seating. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, John, you don't want term seating because of this. But I believe America's behind because we don't have term seatings. You can see it when you watch the news, when you see what's going on, especially when it comes to applying policy. They are having a big trouble of regulating and controlling these tech companies, all because the advancement of technology has passed some of these people who have held these seats for 50 years. And to really get on to help control some of the things, we got to get some young, innovative people, and we have to stop letting the corporations and the money and the different, loopholes keep these people in place. I think term seating is something that, as American people, we need to like come together and think about. Also, we need to write. We need to also get in there. We need to come together to get a bill put on there to deal with our elected officials being able to appoint people to seats. I'm in the belief that if this is a truly a public seat, right? A federal judge is a public seat. Any of our public officials, um, we should be voting for those people to take those seats. I just don't think we should let a party or someone's agenda appoint these people. We as the public should be voting for who's going to be the judge in our federal court system, even on the state local level, and then as well as on any level. We don't want our governors, we don't want our mayors, we don't want nobody appointing anybody to a public seat. That's my belief. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And then the final thing, instead of fighting so much for the police reform, how do we fight to get the Constitution rewritten? That's my perspective. So, can you guys tell me what you think about term seating and appointing people? What do you guys feel on it? Because I want to ask some of our elected officials when we get them on there about it as well. So, Kas, we start with you.
I agree that we definitely need term seating. I agree that we should be voting on seats that have traditionally been appointed. I think that the reason why some of these things have been allowed to happen is because people are lazy. We need to be less lazy, y'all. Get up, get active, get involved, be aware. And that's why, going back to one of the aforementioned propositions, I'm a total proponent of the young people being able to vote. I think that they have an awareness, just as we do, that if I'm not present to the table, that somebody else is going to make the decision for me. And if nobody got anything else out of what I've said today, is y'all know that I'm not with that. I like the opportunity and the control over my own destiny, be that in my own decisions and in my elected officials. And so, therefore, I think that we should have term seating, because then again, people get complacent and people get outdated. And so you need somebody who has new perspective, new to in order to keep that progression going. Um, yeah, so that's that. Aisha?
It'll be interesting to see if they were to change things to get to create term limits. So then, everyone always is trying to find that workaround, right? So, okay, we're going to do this. So, okay, I go to the Senate for 10 years. Then I'm over here in the House. And then maybe I jump districts. So then I can continue to be in the mix. So it would be interesting to see if that were to change. Again, everyone's going to try to figure out a way around it to keep their hands in the pot. But hopefully it would get us fresh people in there. Also our youth in there. Because I mean, when you get somebody and they've been there, 35 years, it's really hard to get, the young brother out from Oakland, he's 25 trying to get in there. And it's like, well, he don't have any experience. And it's like, how's he ever going to gain it? Who says that they don't have that information and they can't make a difference? We started to see that 2018, right? When like AOC and all those new people, fresh blood started coming in. So it's not that it can't happen, but term limits would help and getting new, fresh blood, fresh ideas, and hopefully get the youth more involved overall.
Right. Hey, Art, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I could be real quick with that. There's pros and cons to the term limits, right? Because on one hand, there's no way to really know how long of a term someone needs to really kind of like make an impact, because you can't really gauge that, right? So it might take you to be there for 20 years, right? But then on the flip side, we have people that's been in positions of power for 50 years. And one thing I've learned from being a young man is that you can never teach an old dog new tricks. So with that being said, I think we should, remove everybody who's been in their positions for 20 years or more, because obviously in the last 20 years ain't nothing changed. So bye bye to them. Then we can implement this term limit and base it off of your success, right? Or base it off your approval rate that allow you to keep on staying on that term. Because I know we have some Black politicians who've been in their positions for a long time. Some of them we call auntie, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna say Auntie ain't done nothing all this time, but okay, she's been there for a long, long time, and yeah. So that's it. That's all I'm saying.
I love your perspective, Art. I mean, I think it's just something that we need to definitely open up to think about. I feel 12 years should be enough time for people to push their agenda. And like Kai said, it won't have people being lazy, right? Because sometimes, our Congress leaders are playing games with the community. When it comes to budgeting, different things, they just kind of playing a game. And I think if they have a term or a certain amount of time, I think they just will push harder, fight harder. I think, I think we just got to try it. I mean, because what's been going on is just not working. I mean, it's sad when you're an American, you have to hear we got to vote for the lesser two evils. It's just, it's amazing. But
I will say this. I think that in any term, you have your term and you have your goals and objectives, and you should be able to create a plan where you can implement them and strategize on that plan to do that. If you can't, that's what mentorship is about. That's what bringing somebody else's along is about. And they should be able to do that within those offices to say that if I walk out of here and get hit by a train tomorrow, stuff keeps happening and things keep going and the wheel keeps turning. I don't think that we should be putting our eggs in one basket as it pertains to having somebody be this ultimate doer or problem solver when it comes to the issues or the things that we're trying to accomplish here. Because it's so much to unpack and unfold and to reprocess and put forth. So I don't think the term should be like super long. I do think that they need time, but I also think that it should be built into whatever position the idea of mentorship and bringing other people along and giving them their shine and growth.
so you think 10 years is too short? A whole decade, 12 years? If they
No, I
can't get it done in 12 years, that's a
don't
lot.
think it's short at all. I think that might be too long.
I
Actually,
mean, it should be
I think
like a manager's contract, right? When you manage a talent. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just saying I think 10 years is too long. You know what I'm saying? I think that it should be, and it's not even paid for performance. Like just get in, make your contribution, make room for somebody else to do the thing. And who's to say if it's a term that you can't cycle back? But I think that we need a break in anything that you do. I think you need fresh eyes and new opportunity and new perspective. I think that it's just healthy.
Definitely. You want to say something real quick, Art?
No, I was just gonna say, when you manage talent and things like that, you give them a management agreement, right? And it typically says like it's the agreements for 1 year, and then it renews if all parties agree that it renews, so on and so forth, based off of hitting these different milestones and objectives and things like that. If we went that route where your term was based off of you hitting the actual objectives, the actual milestones, the actual, things that you're trying to bring to the table versus just, well, we're going to give you 5 years or 10 years or 4 years or whatever the case may be. But I think it should be based off of performance. And if your performance is not where it needs to be, then okay, this is you're going to be your last year in this contract. Then we're going to bring in someone new who can get the job done.
Well, that's deep. Thanks, Art. We got to get you on as a panelist in the future for some great dialogue. Me and Rico are thinking about some conversations that we're going to have, especially with single dads and fathers that's involved. We're going to get ready to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for joining today's conversation. Next week will be the final conversation about the vote. We're going to go hit it hard. If you are in political science, or if you are a person that's promoting a proposition, or you have involvement in the voting process, you would like to be a panelist involved with next Sunday's conversation, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. We're getting close. Next Sunday will be the last Sunday before the vote. So definitely, if you're a council person, if you're a supervisor, if you're running for office, or you're a candidate and you want to come on and get people energized and excited about what you have going on for November 3rd vote, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. Thanks everybody for watching. As I said earlier, can you guys please keep our co-founder Rico Hamilton and his family in your prayers? Jada Curry, our director of programs, keep keep them in your prayers. And we all going to keep praying for them. And we can't wait to have them back. I want to thank Kosh and Asia for coming on today, supporting us, keeping the conversation going. Thanks to everybody who watched today, supported, made comments. We just got to keep doing the work, keep loving each other. And, you know, through all of this communication, we will get the healing that we need and the results that we want to see. Also, if we have any women mentors out there, if you have it in your heart and you feel that you want to mentor young women, if you feel you have a gift or a talent that you can help teach and educate and promote and build our young women, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. We are looking for women mentor out there. We did receive a lot of women said they was waiting for it. We are in motion. So if you would like to be a woman mentor to mentor our young people, please reach out to us. We're looking for mentors. This Tuesday, we have our Hidden Gem segment at 7 p.m. Please tune in. We have some amazing hidden gems coming up. If you are a business owner and you would like to promote your business on our platform on one of our hidden gem shows, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation. We're going to open it up to all businesses. At first, we was just promoting our Black and brown business, trying to get the local support. And it seems like our Black and brown businesses are doing well. So we want to open it up to all business owners, no matter how big, how small your company is. If you only have one employee, you're a sole proprietor, or if you're just getting started and you're trying to get some people to come in your business, please reach out to us so we can get you on to promote your business so the people can see where you at and come support their dollars with your business. And then our Thursday educational series, we'll be kicking off on some insurance, some great information. We have Lincoln Financial coming on. Go give an amazing presentation. Thank you to all the people involved with making that happen, Asia and the rest of the team, and to Ms. Davis helping out, getting us connected. I think this is going to be great information for our community, and it's going to be a blessing. So thank you guys again for this week's Sunday conversation. I am John Henry, the co-founder of Both Sides of Conversation. We will see y'all next Sunday. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace.